When Morgan's off, you got to find a way to keep the energy up of the show. You can't just have me up here by myself. You got to come in with the heat. This is a main event spot, so you got to get a main event talent, and it is my pleasure to have the one and only Kenny Caraway from D-Lo and KC on ESPN 1320.
Hey, Deuce. What's good, man? I'm here. I'm on the night chat. This is some good stuff, man. And, look, I love, D-Lo and KC. That's what we do. But, by nature, I'm a vampire.
I know.
I basically just woke up about an hour ago, and I'm ready to go all night long.
My question, why aren't the bottles popped behind you? Like, what are we doing here?
Well, the bottles aren't popped. I got a little something for night chat.
Okay.
When we switch, I got a little something. I'm ready to go.
Well, I appreciate you even hanging out with us for a bit. Let's get to our first thoughts presented by our friends over at rate.com/Sean Stanfield and Guaranteed Rate. My goodness. This is one of those games, you're coming off the heels of losing by 30, getting banged by the Pelicans in the second half. Then you hang out the arena for 4 hours last night because there are plane issues. They bring in another plane. There are issues with that plane. So then the Kings have to go and rebook the hotel they were at, get checked back in, stay the night, get no sleep, and they fly out on a game day, which they needed permission from the NBA to do. You can't fly on a game day usually. Yeah. So they fly to San Antonio on a game day, take on the Spurs in a must-win. It wasn't pretty, but they got the job done 115-112. Kenny, what impressed you most about tonight's victory?
Man, I will say this about everything that went down last night, flying on game day and playing. If the Kings would have lost this game, and then if they would have blew a 19-point lead in the third quarter, like they almost did to lose the game, right? If that would have happened, nobody would have wanted to hear, everything that they had to go through. But since they won, we can talk about it, and we can talk about how crazy it was, right? Like that is a lot. Like you play that game in New Orleans last night, and not only do you lose, you get beat up. The Pelicans just backhand you in the second half, and I do believe that this team, really has their eyes and their hopes set on making this play-in, and they were dealt a blow last night. You know what I mean? They were dealt a blow. Like, man, we got waxed like that. They're thinking, all right, man, let's get on this plane. Let's get to San Antonio, get a bite to eat, get a nice night's sleep. And then they have this whole delay that takes, 2-3 hours to sort out. Then they're told they've got to go back into the hotel, get rested up there, fly out in the morning, and then play a game in a couple hours. And if I won't even say I know how it feels like, I know they were tired. I don't know about all that. But I do know athletes, NBA players, creatures of routine. And their routine was completely off coming into this game. And, even with them, losing the lead late in that third quarter, they set themselves up early in that game by coming out ready to play, coming out of the half, something we haven't seen in a lot of these games, coming out of the halftime ready to play. They gave themselves a little cushion. Unfortunately, they needed the whole cushion and then some. But, man, it's a tough win, Deuce, tough little gritty win. Can we classify it as that?
100% you can classify it as that. And you're right. That third quarter got off to a nice start. You score in the first 5 possessions. Kings get the lead to 19. It's 79-50. I'm feeling good at that point. I'm like, okay, cool. You finish strong here. You should be able to maybe sit some guys, get some guys some rest. But, of course, the Kings are the Kings, and they're not going to make it that easy on themselves or anybody else. And then they finish with 6 turnovers in the third quarter. The lead just evaporates because the Spurs go on a 12-0 run. It was brutal. It was brutal, man. And that was a moment that killed me. I mean, the other thing, too, is, and we'll get to the good here, right? Because there's a lot to go over that's good. But, man, looking at that third quarter, Gentry takes out Sabonis at the 5:46 mark when they're up 80-67. And he had only played like 19 minutes. Yeah. You had 3 fouls, I get it, and you need to give him some rest, but, man, you got to roll with that guy. There's so much better with him on the floor, and then the lead went away. But Fourth quarter, you lose that lead. It's 103-99. I don't know about you watching at home, but I thought the game was over. I'm like, well, this sucks. We're going to have to come on here tonight after a terrible performance last night, and then second night of a back-to-back, and they blow that fat 19-point lead. But they got it done. And I think the guy I got to start with tonight, Kenny, is De'Aaron Fox, because the Fox slander has been hot and heavy pretty much the entire year. And let's be honest, some of it has been deserved for sure.
Some of it has come by way of your man, Kenny Caraway.
Hey, Absolutely. But you know what? It's one thing. Yeah, but you're fair about it. And that's what I appreciate. You're fair about it. You're going to question things. Be critical. We've all been critical. But what we have seen since the trade deadline, since the trade happened, the guy's been engaged. Yeah. He's been money. He looks like that guy we all kind of believed in last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 26 points, 9 assists, made some big plays on the offensive end. Made a big play on the defensive end to kind of seal this game when he stripped DeJounte Murray towards the end of that game. I love the way he's been playing since the trade. I absolutely love it. I mean, I don't want to say it's an effortless 25-plus, but it's not that strenuous. He doesn't look like he's overly exerting himself. He's in a nice little groove. He's got it somewhat on autopilot, and he's extremely aggressive with his shots. Like that's what I've wanted to see from the start. Them days when he had 13 shot attempts. I don't need all that. I need you at 18 to 20, 17 to 21 shot attempts. You are the guy. This team goes when you go. And when he's aggressive, it feels like it sets the tone for everything. And when they made the trade, when he came back from the ankle injury, we saw him. He had a little bounce to a step, and it's continued, man. I love what I saw from De'Aaron again tonight.
That's 25 or more in 9 of the last 10 games for him. And he's been efficient too. And so, look, it's not perfect from him at all times. The 3-point numbers still aren't great. Like, that's got to get better. The defense, I feel like, comes and goes. But tonight, I felt like he was pretty engaged defensively. Even last night in the second half, I know they got their asses kicked, but he got the assignment on Brandon Ingram, and he made life a little more challenging for Ingram compared to what Ingram was doing in that first half. So I think when I take a step back and look at the big picture, of course, it's just one game, right? Like they're 3.5 out of the play-in, but this was big for them to at least in that locker room to have that belief. But for me, the big picture with Fox is I needed to see this guy again, right? Because this guy had been missing for 75% of the season. Yeah. And I don't know if it's just because Halliburton's gone and he can kind of do his own thing again. I think a lot has to do with Sabonis being out there. And you look at the play of Barnes and Fox, like they've been way better since Sabonis has been on the team.
I agree 100%. And one of the things that we're starting to see with Fox is in the last, 4 or 5 games, we're seeing that assist total creep back up again. Before he was just scoring and he wasn't really distributing. And even then, I was really okay with that because Sabonis was the one getting the assist and they were running the offense through him. So he was going to have a lot of the assist opportunities. But now Fox is starting to find his groove where even when the offense is being ran through Domantas Sabonis, he's still finding ways to play make for other guys. I mean, he had some assists tonight that was just smooth, just nice and clean. Alley-oop to Damien Jones. I mean, he had another little pocket pass. I forgot who it was to, but just the way he's distributed and playmaking, not only for himself and for others, I think he's starting to find a groove. I agree with you. Sabonis has a whole lot to do with that, but now he's finding a way to maneuver around that, not just with scoring, but setting it up for his other teammates as well.
Yeah, he had a really nice pass to Lyles early on. Lyles ended up he got the start again.
Two-handed joint. Yeah, that was
nice. He had another nice one to Sabonis. So it was good. Yeah, to me, I'm most encouraged by that. Like when the trade happened, I wasn't worried about Sabonis because I know what Sabonis is. I know how he could play in this league. I was more concerned with, okay, are we gonna see that Fox that we saw before? Because we haven't seen that at all this year, and now we're starting to see that. So that, for me, makes me a little more optimistic about things. And then Harrison Barnes, HB's been money too. And I think we spent so much time talking about Sabonis and so much time talking about Fox, but Barnes has really put together a nice stretch of basketball here. And tonight, coming up big, 27 points. He was 11 for 14 from the free throw line, 6 of 8 shooting, including 4 or 5 from 3.
How does this guy keep doing this, having these 25, 30-point games on like 7 shot attempts. Like it's
Dude,
crazy.
he's getting
He
to the
has
line.
27 and he goes 6 of 8. What?
Well, I was telling Morgan, I mean, that this is like perfect for him, right? Because when he was with the Warriors, I mean, he was benefiting from playing with Steph and Clay and Draymond, right? He doesn't have to be like the number 2 guy with them, right? He could cut, move without the ball, get some easy looks. Well, that's happening again. Like he's getting so many, and he's attacking. He's getting to the free throw line. It's been huge.
I mean, the play of the game, really, Donte DiVincenzo getting that offensive rebound, and Harrison just in having the presence of mind, cutting towards the basket. Shout out to DiVincenzo, our guy Off-White, for finding him. Our guy Off-White, he was back at it today, but for finding him on that cut and Harrison finishing. Harrison Barnes, he is another guy. I know we always talk about how Sabonis has unlocked De'Aaron Fox and made things easier for him, but you talk about it, Mo talks about it. I mean, he's unlocked Harrison Barnes. He's put him in such a comfort zone where a lot of times we needed Harrison Barnes to be maybe the second leading scorer and to take 15, 16 shots. And like you just mentioned, that's not really his bag. That's not his comfort zone. Now with Sabonis there, Sabonis is probably the second option. In some cases, maybe the first option. Harrison slides into that third option role where he can take 8 shots, and they're 8 quality shots, right? Like he doesn't have to force anything. He doesn't have to force the 3 ball. He can get into the lane, get to the foul line like he's been doing, and be effective that way. So Sabonis is once again, I think, the key for all of that. But I salute Harrison for recognizing it and applying some of the changes that have had to be made.
He was fumbling some shit tonight, but he said,
"What's up with that, man?"
He said after the game, he honestly said after the game, he couldn't process it. Like his mind was just, he was so tired, and I kind of buy it because he doesn't normally do that.
Harrison was. I almost did it. I didn't do it, but I almost put a picture of Bobby from Blue Chips next to Harrison Barnes and say, I was like, hold on, this is looking funny. I've seen this before. This is looking funny. You look like you're throwing the game right now, Harrison.
You had 5 turnovers. That's not really an HB. That's not an HB game.
Like Tiki Barber before he started putting the ball up here.
What do you think of Sabonis tonight? I mean, he ends up fouling out of this game. I guess like the last few, it seems like he's getting in so many. He's getting foul trouble almost every game now, and that just kills you. But also, how come he doesn't get any calls? Is it just me? Am I like insane? Am I being a homer here? Am I drinking the purple Kool-Aid? Because I'm watching him going, this guy gets triple teamed all the time. It looks like he's getting hammered and he gets no calls. He shot 2. He was 2 for 2 from the free throw line.
And they almost tried to not give him that. That was challenged. They tried not to give him
That's
that
right.
one. I mean, I see the same thing. I'm watching it. I'm seeing what's my man named Collins just smack the hell out of Sabonis a number of different times in the paint. He's getting triple teamed, like you said. I'm like, where's the foul? What's the call? And it'd be one thing if that was just what it was. But like you said, he's not getting the benefit of the doubt on the defensive end. He's getting a lot of these I feel touch foul calls. I don't know what's up with this foul thing, man. I really don't. And I know me and Damien were talking about it the other day, and we were trying to figure out, is this something that he dealt with in Indiana as well? And it didn't necessarily seem like that. I mean, just his style of play, and depending on how the game is being called, is going to lend itself, to some foul trouble sometimes because he's a physical guy. He plays physical. He plays aggressive. But it seemed like he didn't have these type of problems until he got here. But, it's the Kings. So, it is what it is. We're not getting no calls over here in Sacramento.
I thought Damien Jones came in and had some nice minutes tonight when they needed it, right? Like it was, all right, you take Sabonis out, how is it going to look in the non-Sabonis minutes? And I think the first go around ended up being pretty good. Damien Jones tonight had 10 points, 7 rebounds in 20 minutes. He also had 2 dimes.
Come on, you can't ask for nothing more than that from your big coming off the bench. 10 points, 7 rebounds, being effective. What was he? 5 of 5 from the field. That's a perfect game from your big guy coming off the bench. An absolute perfect game. I like Damien Jones a lot. I know he's getting to play because of Rashawn Holmes' injury and his lack of productivity. I like Rashawn a lot. I think he has the capability to do the same things Damien is doing. But, man, I don't know, man. I really like Damien Jones. I feel like finally he's found his groove in this league after stints with Golden State and the Lakers, where he was underwhelming and a disappointment to some of those guys there. But I think he's found a place here in Sacramento. I'd love to see him continue to be with his team for the long haul.
Yeah, his contract expires after the season. I feel like you could bring him back, especially if you do end up moving on from Rashawn. That's a good big to have off your bench. A guy that can switch out on the guards. I feel like sometimes he's better defending guards than he is bigs. Like he comes out on guards sometimes and he makes life tough. He did it on CJ last night. He did a couple of times tonight. Getting switched on the guards. I thought he was pretty good.
And the other thing about him, Deuce, that I really like is he knows who he is. He knows his role. He knows who he is in this league. And he's okay with whatever comes of that. If they don't run a play for him, a pick and roll for him the whole game, he still knows my job is to get on the boards. My job is to be a rim protector. My job is to try to get second chance opportunities. Doesn't get frustrated. You never see, and this isn't a shot at anybody, but you just never see bad body language from him. He always stays within himself and within what he's trying to do. And I love that about him.
So there's definitely some good from tonight, but what the hell happened with the lead? Like, I feel like look, I don't want to discredit the Spurs by any means, but man, it just seemed like the Kings were just taking bad shots. Jeremy Lamb took some shots. You talk about throwing the game. I was like, is he all right? Like, did he sleep at all last night? Was like, screw it, I'm not going back to the hotel. It's Mardi Gras. I'm going out. I mean, there were some shots and I'm going, they just looked terrible in that third quarter. And they were on the ropes.
Yeah, and it happened so fast. Like, it was within about a 4 or 5 minute span, it felt like.
Yeah.
Where it just all went to hell. You know what, they finished on an 8-0 run that the Spurs did. Turnovers, being sloppy with the ball. I remember particularly one dribble handoff. I think it was Sabonis and Fox that DeJounte Murray just get right in the middle of it, coast to coast, the neck all the way down the court. Lonnie Walker, he came back in and just put the
Lonnie killed them tonight. He killed them.
You know what, Lonnie Walker. I didn't realize his contract situation. I've always been a fan of Lonnie Walker.
He's been playing better too.
I don't know what the deal is with him in San Antonio. He doesn't start. He never seems to get the love that I guess I like Lonnie Walker more than Pop does. But, I mean, he showed up and showed out. He was putting the fear of God in the Kings today. But, I mean, it went to hell so fast. That's the thing that I thought about. Like, it was at 19 at one point, and then they got it to 14, and the Kings kept it there. And then it went from 14 to like 6 in a heartbeat. And I was like, oh, we got a game. We got a game out of nowhere. 14 to 6, like it's nothing.
Where are you at with everything, though? Are you still like, hey, they still kind of have a chance? Or are you like, hey, you know what?
Well, okay.
It is what it is. Just play better down the stretch. There's 3.5 out. By the way, you see what's happening with the Lakers tonight?
We need to stop looking at the Pelicans and look at where they are with the Lakers.
The Lakers are there. It's 115-95 Clippers. It's 7:03 to go.
They can't beat it. And like I said with the Lakers, I mentioned this after the All-Star break. You know how it is. They're the premier franchise in the NBA. So their schedule, for lack of a better term, gets backloaded with a bunch of national TV games after the NFL season. So the schedule in March is crazy. Like, they play like all playoff teams in March. So that's a crazy situation. We talked about this about a week ago, and I think if I had to put a percentage on it, I said about 25%. And this was a week ago. This was before they lost to New Orleans or whatever the case may be. But check this out, Deuce. I just was spitballing a little bit.
Okay.
And at the 25 game left mark, I think that was the first game. There's the Washington game. I said that the Kings are going to go 14-11. And I said, I went down the schedule, win, loss. So far, they've only had one game that I didn't think was going to go the way it went. And that's the Brooklyn game. So they're going to have to find a way to make that up. But we're probably, I'm looking at it right now. What are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in now from my prediction of 14-11 in the final 25. And it's going according to plan pretty much. So I think they still have a shot. It's not a big shot, but I think they still got a shot, but they're gonna have to. The way
They're
the
going to have to
Pelicans
get
are,
red hot. They're going to have to
they
get red
are.
hot and win games that we don't normally that we don't think they can win. Pretty much.
Absolutely. And with the Pelicans playing better than maybe I thought they would, is that 14-11. If that happened in the 20, that'd be great. But they might need more than that to catch the Pels.
You know what though? That's the thing. That's why I don't really care about the play-in. Like if you get in, cool. But if they do what you just said and they go 14-11 down the stretch, that's the best basketball that they've played in like a couple of years. Like that'd be fantastic. And that to me would show like, all right, Sabonis and Fox are clicking. You know, HB's got it going, and it's like a time to evaluate the roster and to figure out, all right, who's going to be here next year. I think the one problem with it is like you're going to have a new head coach. So it's not like you could be like, hey, it's an extended training camp because it's going to be a new guy next year.
Right. How I'm going to ask you. So I would say with the team before the trade deadline, when people were talking about fire Luke and all this other stuff, I said, God couldn't help this roster. God came down and was on the sideline. It wouldn't matter. These guys, they're not it. They will lose with anybody, right? Do you, and I like this new group. I don't necessarily feel that way. I don't feel that way at all with this particular group. How much do you think coaching would help this particular group? And they're going to have some additions in the summer. But if you know, bless his heart, if they didn't have Alvin out there for some of these moments, do you think that would help this team to get a couple more wins if they had a better coaching?
Yeah, I mean, and I like Alvin a lot. I think there are times since the trade that, and I don't usually get wrapped up in the lineup stuff, but man, I've noticed it a lot. You know, times when you're looking on the floor and you're like, why do they not have Harrison, Barnes, Fox, or Sabonis on the floor? You can't be rolling out with this squad with all those guys. And tonight that happened again. Now, you could point to, all right, maybe that was just because of last night and how crazy their travel schedule was, you know, flying into San Antonio. But I still want one of those guys on the floor at all times. Yeah, I think defensively, I think they could get a lot better with a different coach in there maybe. Yeah. And maybe I'm missing it, but, you know, Gentry's never been known as like he's an offensive-minded coach.
Right.
Like, that's what they do.
Right.
And I think defensively, there's stuff that they do. So I think they're so aggressive sometimes helping. I think switching too much. And yeah, I mean, some of it too is they need better personnel too. It's not like they have a perfectly constructed defensive roster.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And like you, I love Alvin Gentry too. He seems like the nicest guy. You know, he's been in the league. He's accomplished so much in this league, but for this particular group, I don't think he's a good fit for him. Another guy tonight that I want to show a little love to is I mentioned him before a little bit. My man Donte DiVincenzo, aka Off-White.
I like Off-White, and when he starts hitting the shot, I'm going to like him a lot more. But he brings it. He does take some buddy shots for sure. Someone's mentioned that he takes some buddy shots that you have flashbacks and go, "Oh no, is Buddy back?"
Yeah, but he's everywhere, right?
Yes.
Like he's
that's the difference.
In there on the boards, and you know he's getting his hands in dig down situations and getting steals, and he has great anticipation steals. I just like him out there. He may be one of those guys because we're, you know, all talking about evaluating this team moving forward and, you know, seeing if they, you know, need a starting two guard, if Dante's that, if TD is that, or whatever the case may be. In a perfect scenario with this team, not with the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis, Middleton, and Drew Holiday, in a perfect situation, you probably want DiVincenzo coming off your bench as your shooting guard. But I know I want him on the team. I know that much. Like, I like what he brings to the table.
And I think he might be able to start, but he does have to knock down the shot a little more consistently. And that's just something since the injury he hasn't done, but he does so much out there. Like you notice him, you know, like he's very active defensively. You mentioned that steal earlier. He's just everywhere. And that's what I like to see for a team that, you know, is so bad defensively at times. They're still not good. Right. But I feel like now you see more positive moments on the defensive side of the ball. You still see breakdowns, but I wonder how much that too has to do with the fact that these guys still don't know each other. And when you don't get practice time, you don't get a chance to install a whole bunch of things. You're just kind of patchworking this thing, right? Like that's the other thing in defense of Gentry. It's like they only have so much time here, right? Like, can they really change everything in the middle of the season? And I think that's been the struggle sometimes, even offensively, where they're trying to run more things through Sabonis. But guys, you had that one game where like Sabonis has the ball and Alvin's telling them to cut, and like three guys cut at the same time in the lane. And you're like, what the hell's going on? But these guys don't know when to cut. You know, they're still trying to figure all that stuff out.
Yeah, no, I agree. And as ugly as it was in New Orleans, I was really shocked by that because they hadn't shown that since the trade. These guys have been tough. They've been battling. Even in the losses, they were competitive, and that just kind of came out of nowhere. I'm almost, maybe I'm being too easy on them. I'm almost to write that off as like a one-off. Like that was just an anomaly because out of the, what have they played, 8-9 games now? We hadn't seen a game like that. It's usually been more like tonight or, you know, the second Denver game or something like that. And sometimes you just have those in the NBA.
Yeah, that was, and especially with how I thought the first half was pretty competitive too. It just felt like, yeah, there wasn't a lot of defense from really either team, but Ingram was hitting some really tough shots. I thought the Kings offense was looking good, and then they just went to complete shit in the second half. Yeah. But look, I'm all about the response, and it would have been easy to be like, hey, second I have a back-to-back, all the issues we just already talked about with like the plane and stuff. If you lose tonight, built-in excuse. For sure. But for them to win this game, I like it. And like if you're in the long, it's one thing for me to last night do the Paul Bearer bit and say it's over, they're done, whatever. But like, you know, this you played. You can't think like that as a player. You're going, like Sabonis said last night, hey, you know what? We get them at home next week.
Right.
We win that game. We get the tiebreaker. They got the tiebreaker from the Spurs tonight. You got 17 games left.
Yeah.
I mean, the schedule is tough, but weird things happen in the NBA. Like you just don't know.
I would want my team that I'm rooting for to be like crazy, irrationally confident, right? Like, oh, we're 3.5 out. What if we got 17 games left? What if we go 14-3 in the final 17? You know what I'm saying? Like, I would want them to think that, even as crazy as it sounds. You know what I mean? Like that's like Ron Artest coming in. They're like 8 games out of the play. Yeah, we're gonna make the playoffs. What? Are you crazy? Like I need somebody like that. These are some of the things that I talked about, you know, before the trade, and I would talk about with, you know, in regards to De'Aaron Fox or Tyrese Halliburton when it's here, or just anybody that comes in here. I would say I need somebody that cannot be broken. I need somebody that's a little. They're kind of crazy in their confidence. Yeah. But that's what it would take, I feel, in this city and with this franchise to overcome some of the stuff that you have to overcome. So, yeah, those guys in there, we lost to New Orleans. Let's get this one in San Antonio. And if we win in Dallas, we probably make up for the fact that we lost in New Orleans. So that's how they're thinking. Me and you and everybody else might be like, you're crazy. You're not beating Luke. He just had 41 tonight. He's going to do it again. But they need to be thinking like, yeah, we're going into Dallas. We'll get that one.
They need to have that like Justin Holiday with his shot confidence. He launched 12 threes tonight. 2 for 12.
What's going on with this? Me and Damien talk about all the time. Maybe we should forgive Buddy because maybe it's not Buddy. Maybe it's just the shooting guard position in Sacramento where it just does something to you.
No, you know what it honestly is? I think it's a lot of freedom. I think that Gentry wants his guys to just play, and he wants them to just, hey, you're open, shoot it. And I'm sure as a player, you love that confidence, but I've been making the case, even going back to the Walton days, like they probably take too many threes, and you have too many guys who aren't good three-point shooters taking threes. Like, to me, if you're taking 12 threes, you better be one of like the premier three-point shooters in the game. And I'm not trying to sound like an old man here, like saying, oh, I don't want to see any threes. Like, Holiday has shot at a decent rate this year, but he's streaky too. Right. Taking 12?
Yeah. And we talked about this a lot on the show today about, like, Damien was like, yesterday we were 8-35, like, drive in, like, do something different. Me, I'm kind of like, look, if you're open, I said it on the show, like, it's more important that you have the confidence to take the shot than actually missing, if that makes sense, right? Like, I need you to feel like I'm open, I've worked on this, I can hit this shot. But I would also, to Damien's point and everybody else's point, you know, mix it in on a certain occasion. If you're coming off a screen from Sabonis, a dribble handoff that usually you would take that three-pointer, curl off that, try and get into the lane. Same things we'd always talk about with Buddy Hield.
Yep.
Do something a little different to get another.
Especially with all the attention that Sabonis is attracting, because they are packing the paint, right? A lot of teams are going, hey, the Kings aren't good at shooting the ball. Let's pack the paint. Let's force them to take some bad shots, because this is what this team will do. I mean, we saw that in the third quarter tonight when it started to fall apart. They were taking just terrible shots. But yeah, you got to play well off Sabonis. And I do love, I feel like the other thing with Fox lately is he has been embracing the contact a little bit. Like he's been a little more relentless, and I dig that. He's not getting every call, and that's, he's kind of dealt with that throughout his career, but he's getting there. And
when he got late in the game tonight, where he came from basically half court with a head full of steam and exploded on Pirtle, I think is who was got the foul on. That's the kind of stuff I want to see from him. Like I want to see that more than just once every 2 weeks or something like that. Like you got that in your bag. I want to see him attack like that.
I hope next year they make the right tweaks and they're awesome and Fox is awesome, because I can't wait to see where all the Fox people in the chatty house and in our chat go. I mean,
they like that.
It just kills me, because it's again, I've been critical of Fox this year, but man, sometimes I think some people act like he's Corey Joseph. like he's just like a guy in the NBA. I'm like, when he is right now, he's playing with a really talented player, and I think you're seeing him benefit from that. And I dig that.
Absolutely. Like just like you, I was critical of him. I didn't like the way he started the season. I even told him, I was like, yo, I'm gonna be on your head because you're better than that. Like you ever averaging 17 points a game. I don't look at you like a 17-point per game scorer. And when I talked to him, he's like, yeah, you're right. I feel you.
Wait, you talked to him?
Yeah, I talked to him before the last game. Yeah, the Nuggets game.
What do you mean you talked to him? Like at the game?
Yeah, before the game. I go down there and I talk. And
wait, are you the reason that D Fox is getting it going?
Code, I guess you can't just give me the accolade.
Shit! Kenny's about to be on the coaching staff next year.
So this is the funny thing, right? I'm new to the game, right? I'm new to the game. And sometimes I'll say stuff and I forget. I'm on the radio, not Kurt, but you forget that people are like listening to you, right? And you tweet things, you forget that, you got a platform now. So I've been critical of Fox, early in the season. And his trainer, Gaston, hit me up.
His agent too, yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Gaston, yeah.
He hit me one time on a reply.
I remember that.
Yeah, he's like, hey, yeah, it's quick to see how they jump off the bandwagon. I was like, chill. So, I say all this to say, after that moment, that was after the OKC game. So that was the one where he got picked by Lou Dort at the beginning of the season. So that whole time, like, it's kind of in my head, like, Fox probably think I'll be on his head. He probably, mad at me or whatever the case may be. And I can't worry about that. But we hadn't seen these guys either because of the COVID restrictions. So I like to go there early and, see these guys warm up and hang out on the baseline and on the sideline. And you know how it goes at that point. I talked to the Deuce, the Deuce and Mose and, Mark Jones and everything.
Yeah.
And Fox was there and he was talking to Sean Cunningham. And I was like, I wonder if he just like ain't fooling with me at all. So I kind of interrupt him and Sean's conversation. And I go, Sean, tell this dude I got love for him, man. And then Fox had the biggest smile. He said, man, I ain't tripping off that. But it all come with the territory or whatever. And I was like, yeah. And so, but I told him straight up what I would say on the radio. I'd be like, I'm on your head because you averaging 17, 18 points a game. And that's not good enough for you. Like, I'm not on your head because I think you're sorry. I actually think you're way nicer than that. You shouldn't be averaging 17, 18. And he was like, yeah, like you're right. I was like, I see you as like a 23, 24, 25 point per game scorer. And when you 17, 18, I got to be like, nah, that's not good enough. He's like, nah, it's good. I was like, all right, I'm glad we got to understand it.
Kenny, he's been unlocked since then.
What?
Maybe that conversation gave him the confidence he needed to get it going. I mean, you know what, though? I appreciate the fact that
pat myself on the back.
You know what? It's what
myself on the back.
Kenny, it's one thing for his like agent trainer who's known him for years to be a little sensitive about things, right? it's cool that it doesn't seem like Fox is sensitive about it. There's been some guys who do get sensitive about things, man. Like I've had things before with former guys that are like, oh, you said this on the pod. I'm like, that was even a big deal. Like, are you serious? Like, I give you love all the time. Like, what are you tripping about?
Now here's the funny thing, Deuce. There's a part of me that would want him to get pissed off at me and like take it out on, you saying I ain't it? Oh yeah. All right. Let me put this 35 piece on somebody's head real quick. I remember what you like. There's a part of me that would want that. And then we talk and I'll be like, nah, you understand what I'm saying. And he would understand it. But like, even like, the whole, and it kind of happened a little bit when Coffee Boy said what he said last year.
Coffee Boy.
When Coffee Boy, with Starbucks got that latte and said what he said. Fox was like, he turned up a little bit, like I kind of do want my guys to feel some type of way if somebody is, challenging them a little bit and channel that energy on the court. And I think he does sometimes. I guess luckily for me, he didn't really do that this time. Like he was cool with me, but I kept it real with him too when I saw him. That's the other thing. You do this too. I know you do it. I'm never going to say anything about anybody, about any of these players that I wouldn't say to their face.
Right.
So like when people talk about you sorry and like I'm not gonna go up to Sabonis and these guys and be like, yo, you sorry. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna you say like, hey, I think this isn't good enough for you. Like you're better than this. You know what I mean? So I think they might respect that.
Well, and I feel like you just respect the game. You played it at a high level, Kenny. Mm-hmm. Like so you have an understanding of like what goes into it. And there's some people out there that are like, man, this guy's a bum. This guy sucks. And it's like, no, like you never know what someone's going through. And like I can't explain Fox's issues through the first portion of the season. And then, he's out with the ankle, comes back, and now it's like we're seeing the guy that we saw last year who put up monster numbers when he didn't have a ton around him. And now he's got a guy around him. And now it's up to Monty to put this thing together and really get this going in a fun direction again.
Deuce, I think I've said this since the trade, since I saw them when they played against Minnesota. And a couple of games later, they lost a couple. I said, I just feel like they're like one player away, one move away from, now I'm not saying championship, but being what Minnesota is this year, right? Like something like that. Like I feel like they're just one player away. Obviously, they can't get it now. It's going to have to come. I don't care how they get the player, whether it's a draft, trade, free agent, whatever the case may be. But Monty got to hit just on one more guy, and I think it'll put everything into place. And that has me, feeling good. Obviously, if they don't make it this year, it sucks. But it has me feeling good about the possibilities of going into next year.
Yeah, it is kind of amazing how like one game gets us feeling a little better for a second. Last night, I was in a dark. I mean, me and Morgan lost it on somebody last night. This guy named Gunther called in. It was like he calls in and he's like, "Hey, Deuce and Mo, do you think if Fox didn't pull a James Harden that they'd be in the play-in right now?" And it was one of those nights. It's been an emotional week. I was pissed.
Yeah. And one game can do that. I know yesterday, I came on. I was going to practice, taking my kid to practice, team that I coach and all this other stuff. So I listened to the game. And I think it was in the third quarter when Fox shot a free throw. He missed the free throw. Lyles got the ball back, went for a putback. That would have made it a 2-point game or something like that. He missed it. New Orleans goes on like a 6-0 run. They go up by 9. I turned it. I was like, it's done. It's done. It's over. We're not winning. It's done. So, I mean, it came to fruition. But, I mean, to your point, last night I was like, oh, I got to start really watching these college basketball games.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, I mean, they're still on track for that 14-11 that I talked about after one win. So that's just what we do sometimes.
No, yeah, for sure. For sure. And by the way, for those people in the chat, I did talk to Gunther today over DMs because, by the way, we jumped the ship pretty good last night, But also his approach and like how he came in was hot. I told him that, but we're good now. We're good. You know what? It's all good.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens. Exactly.
Like there's times when I just got to hand it off to Damien because, well, I'm a cursor. I'll let it fly. Somebody like, call in and somebody will be in the chat and I'll say something like, I like my job. So I'm going to just not say that. Go ahead, Damien.
Just step away. Just step away.